Well, it seems that we have another pickups video, so let's do this. And greetings YouTube gamers, welcome to another episode of Retro Radar. My name is Johnny Retro and welcome to the channel. That's right, I did pick a couple of brand new stuff for my collection, and it's not a lot of stuff, but I'm very happy with the recent pickups that I got for my collection. But before I show you guys my pickups, if you're new on the channel, feel free to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you won't miss a thing. Okay, enough talk, let's check out my recent pickups right after this. Okay, first things first, let's start with a brand new game. Not a brand new game, but a game for a modern platform. That is the Nintendo Switch, and to be honest with you, I think this was the last game that I finished. And I'm talking about Axiom Verge, the Nintendo Switch version. And yes, I picked the collector's edition, and let me tell you guys, I'm very happy with this pick. Not only the game is amazing, but this is one of those collector's editions that, in my opinion, it is totally worth it. The game itself is fun. I believe that by now you guys already have heard about Axiom Verge. It's one of these neo-retro games, if you will, very inspired in old school 8-bit video games. It definitely has this original NES vibe to it. It is very original, very entertaining, and yeah, it is a great game. And my favorite part about the collector's edition, guys, is this making of documentary. This documentary is awesome. I'm gonna be totally honest with you guys, I believe that it is one of the best gaming documentaries that I've ever seen. You have a documentary about the game, you have a full interview of Tom Happ, which is the mastermind behind this game, and this game was entirely made by one guy alone. And I'm talking about coding, I'm talking about the artwork, I'm talking about the soundtrack, which is amazing by the way. And this guy definitely has a very interesting life story. And you also have playthroughs, you have speedruns. I mean, like I said guys, this is an amazing collector's edition. This is the Multiverse edition for the Nintendo Switch. I believe it is also available for the PS4. And I actually did a full unboxing of this edition when I got it, so I will leave a link of that video in the description box below for you guys to check it out. So, this was my first pick. Now let's check out a couple of retro video games. And I want to start out with a donation from a fellow viewer, Lucio Oliveira. And this guy got in contact with me asking me if I had this game right here, Super Tennis for the Super Nintendo. And I said, well, no, because I'm not a big fan of sports games, and you know, I'm not going after a full Super Nintendo set, or any set for that matter. So yeah, I don't have the game in my collection. But he told me, well, I have a double, and I'm going to send it to you anyhow. Which I reply, well, thank you so much for the gesture, I mean, I'll accept it. Now, here comes the best part, because not only I got this game, but I also got a couple of multi-cards for the Game Boy. And you guys know, I'm a huge sucker for cheap bootleg multi-cards. Then 1 week later, Lucio sent me another one. And I've been messing around with these. I've tried a couple of these games. And like I said, guys, I have a bunch of these. This is one of my guilty pleasures when it comes to retro games or when it comes to game collecting. And yeah, I didn't have one of these. I mean, I have loads of these, but not like these specific ones. And I don't know, when it comes to collecting these, what I'm looking for is, you know, not just the game lineup, the games that are included, but you know, different labels and shapes, colors, and yeah, like I said, I'm a huge sucker for these. So Lucio, my friend, once again, thank you so much. Now let's put these aside and let's talk about PlayStation, or let's talk about PlayStation 2 first. I recently got a lot of PS2 games for the store, and I also got a PS2 console and a lot of memory cards. And it is very common when you buy bundles, especially from different people, to find bootleg memory cards. These were huge back in the day. These were, you know, cheap alternatives to the original thing. So each time that I spot an original one, I keep it for myself. And that's what I have right here. This is an original PlayStation 2 memory card. And I don't have a lot of these, actually. I have a lot of the bootleg ones, you know, the Chinese knockoff ones from back in the day. But the original one for the PS2, I think that this is the third that I have. So believe me, guys, I'm very happy with this pick. Now, last but not least, I did pick a couple of interesting PS1 stuff. Let's start with these first. These right here. I picked up a couple of demos. These are demos from the official PlayStation magazine from back in the day. Now, I don't know if you guys can see right here, but I do have a bunch of original PlayStation magazines from back in the day, from back in the 90s. And these right here, guys, well, this was our internet from back in the day. This was our YouTube. And one of the reasons why I used to beg my father to get these for me was because of the demos. Because, you know, a lot of you guys remember, but, you know, for the younger generation in the crowd, these were huge back in the day. You know, these were very important because you would get, you know, demos from games that some of them were already out, have already been released. Others were, you know, future releases. Because remember, no YouTube back in the day. No walkthroughs, no previews, no predictions, no video reviews, nothing. So this was it. And honestly, guys, I didn't test these out yet. And to be fair, am I going to play them? Well, not really. I just collect them for, you know, for nostalgia. However, let me know down below, guys, if you guys want me to do a series of demo reviews or demo gameplays. Let me know if you guys want me to dig my old PlayStation, original PlayStation demo collection, and you know, check a couple of these demos out. Now, let's jump into some PS1 games, and yeah, this is my passion. PlayStation 1, you guys know by now if you watch my channel, is my favorite video game console of all time. Especially, or the reason actually, it's because of the library. It was the first console that I got back in the day at home. Not the first that I played, but the first that I actually got. And I know the early 3D, early 32-bit gaming, whatever, didn't age very well, I know, but I think that these games are still fun to play this day. And these 4 games that I recently picked for my PS1 collection, you know, these are not rare games by any means, but these are very important to me. Each one of these 4 games has a different story, and I was missing these on my collection. And yeah, I'm going to start with the first one. And I know that a lot of you guys remember this one. This is Heart of Darkness for the PS1. Heart of Darkness, well, what can I say about this game? I mean, it is amazing, it is iconic, and I believe that a lot of you guys remember this one. And if you don't, you should, because it is a fantastic game. And this is my story with Heart of Darkness. I've never played the original PlayStation version, and to be honest with you guys, I never finished the game. So why is it nostalgic for me? Well, back in the day, late 90s, like I said, I used to buy, you know, video game magazines, and I used to try the demos. There was this magazine called Megascore. This was a PC gaming magazine, and this was the time when I first got, you know, a PC at home that I could play video games on. I'm not a huge PC guy, as a matter of fact, I don't know a lot about computers, but I believe this was a compact PC, if I remember. And it was not the best, but I mean, it was good for gaming at the time. And please don't ask me about RAM or ROM or Pentium or whatever. I remember the brand, it was a compact PC, and it ran Windows 98, I believe. Anyhow, in one of these magazines, and I've tried looking for it, but I just can't find it. One of these Megascore magazines came with a demo, and one of those demos was Heart of Darkness. Now, this was a time of transition in gaming. This was a transition to 3D, you know, from 2D during the 16-bit era to full 3D games back in the 32-bit era. And although this game has a 2D side-scroll presentation to it, it has cutscenes, and cutscenes were huge back in the day. It was a big deal. So what caught my attention back in the day in Heart of Darkness was the intro, you know, the opening cutscene. Still to this day, guys, it is one of my favorite cutscenes in gaming history. I totally remember Andy running from the teacher, then his dog Whiskey gets kidnapped by aliens, and yeah, the story doesn't make that much sense, but believe me, guys, this is a great game. Now, this version is complete with the manual, both discs, and it also came with the 3D glasses. And I know these are not the first run of 3D glasses with the Heart of Darkness, but you know, still very cool. And that first run is actually very rare, very hard to get. Not crazy expensive, but rare, definitely very collectible. But if you manage to score a copy like this, I mean, it's great, still collectible, and still legit. And yeah, these were used, the glasses were used to certain parts of the game. I believe it was to certain cutscenes. And yeah, this is my story with Heart of Darkness. And finally, I'm going to play this game from start to finish, and probably I'll make a review on it. So the first PlayStation pick, Heart of Darkness, a great classic PlayStation 1 game. Now, number 2. This is Dracula 2, The Last Sanctuary. I'm a big fan of old-school point-and-click adventure games. And I'm also a big fan of Bram Stoker's Dracula. And these series of games are inspired on that story, on the story of the iconic Count Dracula. Now, I did play this game back in the day, and I finished it, and I do own a copy of it, which is somewhere over here, because I have it on the PC. And I don't know if you guys can see, but this right here is the big box version, the big box PC version of the first game in the series, which I also have on the PS1. So yeah, I found a nice deal on this one, and I did wanted to get this for my PS1 collection. The first two games are incredible in my opinion. I prefer the first one, honestly. I think it's darker. But yeah, if you guys like point and click horror adventures, if you guys like Dracula, I mean, these games are great. These are great games to play on Halloween. And another thing that was great for me about these games from back in the day was that I used to play these in Portuguese. And yeah, that was a big deal for a young kid back in the day, because we didn't have a lot of, of Portuguese spoken games. I don't think that this specific version has Portuguese audio, but yeah, I mean, I'm very, very happy to add this to my PS1 collection. Next, what do we have here? This one has a cool story to it. This is Bust-A-Move 2 Arcade Edition. Bust-A-Move, Puzzle Bubble, whatever, everybody knows this franchise. And I used to play this a lot on the arcades actually. And I grew up with these games on the PS1. Especially two versions. Number one was this, Bust-A-Move 2. And the other one, which is around here, somewhere in the collection, is Bust-A-Move 4. Bust-A-Move 4 is my favorite. But Bust-A-Move 2 holds a lot of nostalgia for me. And it is one that I was missing on the collection for the third time. And I'm not kidding you guys, this is the third time that I'm getting this game. Now, fortunately, it is complete, as you guys can see. And here is the crazy story about Bust-A-Move 2. The original game that we got back in the day, at home, was my mother's. Because my mother is a huge fan of this franchise. Now, my mom is not a gamer, but she loves puzzle games. She plays them all the time on her cell phone. And she used to play this a lot as well back in the day in our PlayStation. But here's the thing, back in the day, I used to go to a fellow friend that worked on a flea market, a friend of my father. And this guy used to sell, used PS1 games. And video games back in the day, guys, were a lot harder to get because they were a lot more expensive. So it was normal back in the day to go out and trade your old games for the newer releases. Fortunately, I wasn't very much into that, and fortunately, once again, I kept pretty much my entire collection from my childhood. But there was this one day, I really don't remember what game I was going for, but I traded a couple of games. Crappy games for me at the time. And one of them was this one. And yeah, I did that without consulting my mother. So she was pissed. She was pissed about it. So I believe a couple of months or a year after, I don't know, I got another copy. When I moved from my parents' house into this apartment, and I moved my entire collection, somehow that copy got lost. It doesn't matter how careful you are with these things, but in movings and stuff like that, you always ended up, losing a thing or two. And I'm still missing my Sonic 3 on the Mega Drive from that move. And now I finally recovered Bust-A-Move 2. Nowadays, my mother is not going to play this game, or at least she is not going to play it on the original PlayStation. She's fine with playing it on a computer or her cell phone, but I wanted to have this in my collection. And these memories, these meanings, these attachments, I mean, this is really the big reason why I collect these old video games. When you have a meaning, when you have a story, when you have, a memory, a childhood memory or something like that, that's what brings life, into this piece of plastic. So to me, yeah, it is a piece of plastic, but with a lot of meaning. And it reminds me of my childhood, it reminds me of my mother. It reminds me playing this game with her. And that is a huge reason to have this game back in my PS1 collection. And yeah, Bust a Move 2, by the way, this is a great game. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but that's the actual soundtrack of the game playing in the background. Now, this next game, it is a game that it is completely new to me. Never heard about it, I didn't know that this game existed, although I do have a memory about it. Probably a couple of you have played this game or remember it from back in the day. And it is very possible that you didn't enjoy it. And I'm talking about Deathtrap Dungeon. This is a game by Ian Livingstone, and this game is actually based on a book that is part of a series, actually my favorite series of books. And I'm talking about Fighting Fantasy, which was called Aventuras Fantásticas here in Portugal. And you guys know I'm a huge sucker for those books. And yeah, these books were my introduction to RPGs back in the day. So there was this book called Deathtrap Dungeon. Translated to Portuguese was Masmorra Infernal, and that specific book, it is one of the most iconic ones in the series, and actually, it is one of my personal favorites. And very recently, while browsing and doing research online, I found out about this game that was inspired in that book. And the guy that wrote the book is also the guy behind the game. So basically, in this city, this medieval type city, you have a Mad Baron that has a dungeon within it, or beneath the city. And this dungeon is filled with traps and monsters and obstacles and creatures, and a lot of heroes tried to beat it, but all of them died. And there's a reward for the winner, a reward of 10,000 gold coins. And that hero or heroine is you. That's what the book is all about, that's what the game is all about. Now the problem with the game was that, the gimmick was there, the story was there, the graphics were okay, but the gameplay, well, the gameplay is not very good. The camera is not perfect, the controls are a little bit messy, not very tight. However, call me a hoarder, but that was not the reason why I got this game. I got this game because, like I said guys, because of the story. This copy is pretty much mint, it is complete, but check this out guys. This is what retro gaming or old school gaming was all about. You have the manual right here, but you also have the bestiary. And check this out, you have a lot of information here. You have information about weapons that you can use and get in the game. You have information about monsters right here. And I want to give you guys a close-up of this one. This is the Blood Beast right here. This is the most iconic one because this was the one that was on the cover of the book. So yeah, great stuff. Deathtrap Dungeon. I did try the game. Didn't play a lot of it, but I will give it a shot. And I almost forgot guys, these two games right here, Bust a Move 2 and Deathtrap Dungeon. I got these from Mike, from Game Chest. I will leave the link of his YouTube channel in the description box below for you guys to check it out. And yeah, I got these from him. I got a super killer deal, so Mike, my friend, thank you so much for hooking me up with these. And last but not least, speaking about fighting fantasy, well, I did pick a couple of fighting fantasy books. These are not fantasy themed, these are sci-fi themed. These are in Portuguese. This is O Assassino do Espaço, which I believe that it translates to the Space Assassin. And right here we have O Planeta Rebelde, aka Rebel Planet. So yeah, like I was saying guys, a lot of you, from the late 80s, early 90s, you guys remember these for sure. These were the original releases here in Portugal of fighting fantasy. Right here, called Aventuras Fantásticas. I got this on a book fair. If you're from Lisbon, you've heard about it, Feira do Livro. This is a great spot once a year if you guys want to grab some, old school books. And fighting fantasy books are getting harder and harder to get, but I was lucky with these. So yeah, I spotted this, iconic green covers right here. I can spot these by miles. And these are a little bit used, but I don't care because, it's old books. It gives charm to it. And, the artwork is intact. That's the most important part right here. If you guys want a close-up. Right here, for example. Let's see another one. This one, for example. Get this, I got these for €3 a piece, which is not bad, taking into account that we're talking about, fighting fantasy or Aventuras Fantásticas. I prefer the medieval fantasy ones, but I was missing these, these sci-fi ones on the collection. And, yeah, I'm probably, I don't know, I think that I'm 4 or 5 away to complete the set. And going back to Deathtrap Dungeon, I hope that you guys can see right here, Ian Livingstone, right here. This guy also co-wrote these 2 books right here. So yeah, I'm very happy with these. I'm almost finished with my fighting fantasy collection. And yeah, I need to make a couple of fighting fantasy videos for you guys. These are great, these are really great. And yeah, that concludes the video. I really hope that you guys have enjoyed this video, and yeah, these were my recent picks from my gaming and fighting fantasy collection. Please let me know on the comment section below, guys, what recent pickups did you guys add to your collections lately. If you want to support the show, feel free to check out the Retro Raiders Patreon page. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to put a like on this video, please subscribe to the channel, and take care of yourselves, take care of the gaming community, and game a lot.